Good evening, everyone. Come on, y'all can do better than that. I've been at work since 4:30 this morning. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Good evening, everybody. So, thank you for coming here. Let me put this down because I don't want to. Please welcome to our third Speed Management Symposium. People ask, why are we doing this? The reason why we're doing this is because of people like yourselves who are willing to come out, find out what it is that the government is doing within your community, as well as to let us know what you want done in your community. So each one of you represent more than just yourself. You represent your neighbors, you represent the people that live up the street from you that you never met, you represent the people that you might meet at Wawa or Food Lion. And the way that you do that is by talking about those projects that you've seen here tonight. So we want to thank you for caring, and we definitely want to thank you for sharing. So what's going to be on the screen here is a few items that I want to go through with you all tonight. And I can't see the screen. Yes, I can. Okay. I always like to start things off with our DPW mission, which is to provide a clean, safe, and healthy environment. Very simple, very straightforward, but a very difficult and monumental task that we have about 550 employees within the Department of Public Works going out and achieving on a daily basis. I do want to let everybody know who our executive team is. We start off with Mr. Mambupinda Kara, who is our city engineer. Kara? Ms. Lynn Lancaster, in charge of special capital projects and parking. She's waving back there. Ms. Gail Johnson, who's in charge of finance and fleet. I don't think Gail is here. She's somewhere counting our money. Mr. Torrance Robertson, in charge of operations. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Rona Moore Clark, who's in charge of the Office of Equitable Transit and Mobility. Looking at your beautiful city of Richmond, it's comprised of 62.5 square miles. Our population is growing. We're going to be at 230,000 plus during the next census. The things that we like to worry about taking care of is the over 1,800 lane miles of roads that we actually paid for to maintain by VDOT. Those roads actually equate to over 2,400 lane miles when you look at parking lanes as well as turning lanes. We have over 200 miles of alleys and over 800 miles of sidewalks that we tend to maintain on an annual and daily basis for you. The biggest part of our budget that impacts you all and impacts every council district is our Complete Streets program. That's where we have over $21 million allocated for paving, traffic engineering projects with regards to traffic calming, as well as making up the difference for some of our CIP projects that may have been on the books for a long time, as well as taking care of our sidewalk program. So looking at what we encountered back in 2018, we had a city riddled with potholes. I know that there's still many potholes out there. By no means am I claiming that we've eliminated them all, but we have reduced the amount of potholes significantly. Back in 2018, we were at 35% of our roads being good or better. I would like to report now, in 2024, we're at 71%. Clap it up. We have strategically worked with our sister agencies, particularly the Department of Public Utilities, in order to make up a difference. So right now, we're doing that $21 million worth of paving actually in the city of Richmond. We're taking the $15 million from Complete Streets. We're adding about another $6 million that we get from the Department of Public Utilities in order to, instead of paving a 3-foot wide scar through many of your neighborhoods, we're actually able to pave curb to curb. So with our paving program, in addition to just putting down asphalt, we're also putting in traffic calming measures such as speed tables, we're putting in bike lanes, and we're also doing some touch-up work with regards to some curb and gutter work. If you're not familiar with our website, please go to rva.gov. This right here is the fiscal year 25 paving program. If you go to that website now, you're still going to see fiscal year 24 because that's the fiscal year that we're currently in. But this is where we wind up doing our best to update the public and utilizing our technology and our media savvy as much as possible. Looking at our speed table and traffic calming, we're over 200 speed tables that we're going to be installing this year. This is an incredible amount of speed. Yeah, please clap it up. Because most of us, the only thing we knew about a speed table was about 20 years ago driving through the grocery store parking lot trying to avoid them. We've all hated speed bumps our entire life. Now we're cheering them on. But we're not going to take care of the problems with regards to people speeding and breaking the law just through the Department of Public Works alone. We're working with RPD. We're also working with VCU police, who you saw here tonight. We're working with our fire department. And we're working with our other sister agencies in terms of doing our best to make a difference. We have several subcommissions that wind up working with the Department of Public Works, and they go out into the communities and they advocate for the work that needs to be done in terms of trying to slow people down. Safe and healthy streets, streets for kids. We're trying to do our best and put our best foot forward with regards to matching our dollars in terms of slowing people down throughout our communities. The High Injury Network. Many of you all have heard about the High Injury Network. I used to think that the High Injury Network was something in space, something that I heard from Star Trek, but it actually is a high injury network. The High Injury Network represents those major arterials within our community where people are driving like they have lost their mind. We can have a speed limit all day long of 35 miles per hour, but an idiot driving 75 miles per hour is just that. And I don't have a problem calling them that, because there's no reason in the world for you to be that reckless with yourself and with others. Just turn around, most of us, and look at the person that's riding in the back seat with us. These are kids, and we see the impact of these children. We see the impact of our loved ones. And we don't want to see trees knocked over. We don't want to see stop signs knocked over. We don't want to see lamp posts knocked over. All of that typically comes from somebody driving too fast and or not paying attention. The High Injury Network is where it has the most impactful consequences. On the High Injury Network in the city of Richmond, from 2015 to 2023, we had over 39,000 accidents. Accidents are something that happens. We know because it's called an accident. However, accidents with severe injuries, over 1,500. And unfortunately, we lost 146 lives. Accidents are preventable, but we know that they're going to happen. So what we need to do is to work together collectively to try to minimize the impact of those accidents. This right here is a snapshot of the city of Richmond looking at the unfortunate accidents where someone was killed. This next picture is the same geographical area of a snapshot of the center of Richmond that shows the KA crash data. KA stands for those individuals that was either killed in an accident and or severely injured. As you can see, the dots have increased. This is the amount of accidents that happened over that period of time. We can control this by driving better. If 2 or 3 people can wind up doing things responsibly and you watch that idiot drive down the street, we can avoid that individual by being as alert as possible ourselves. We can make eye contact. We can be as defensive as possible. Don't take anything for granted. That's what I tell my family. That's what I want you to tell your family. And slowly but surely, we can wind up eradicating many of these dots. So, coming close to a close here, the Department of Public Works, right now we're working, trying to get all of the funding possible in order to make a difference. This right here is a sheet that represents over $300 million worth of projects that's going to be coming in the city of Richmond over the next 5 years. We have over $800 million coming over the next 8 years. This work is coming to us by the good hard work of our program managers, through our Department of, through our Office of Equitable Transportation and Mobility, as well as through our City Engineer's Office. I'd like to personally thank Mr. Mike Sawyer and his team. Mike, please give a wave. Mike's our City Transportation Engineer. They go out and they find funding for us in order to get these projects taken care of. Our Richmond Connects. Can the people from Richmond Connects please stand? What Richmond Connects has done is they've actually been the bridge to link us all together with regards to all of the different sections and divisions within the Department of Public Works. We literally work as a family together. For years, separate departments have tried working together, but everybody tries to hoard their own money. Being within the Department of Public Works, we've all have a family atmosphere, and we all tend to share. And the way that we share is by helping each other to get the job done. So through our Office of Equitable Transportation and Mobility, they work with Transportation and Traffic Engineering. Transportation and Traffic Engineering works with Torrance and his operational sections. So that way we're able to get street cleaning done, we're able to get sidewalks done, we're able to get bike lanes done, we're able to work with Kenny Horak in terms of paving, we're able to work with Enrique Burgos in terms of getting traffic signals in. We're even working with regards to graffiti, sign removal, striping. All of us are working together, cutting the grass on the median to make everything much more manageable for the citizens of the city of Richmond. And a lot of that work winds up going through offices like this office here to make certain that we don't just do it in this district, we don't just do it in this neighborhood, but we do it throughout the entire city of Richmond. Some of the work that you all are going to see coming up is going to be lighter, quicker, cheaper implementation. It was a perfect example of this on Broad Street near Crenshaw. And what's happening there is that we're putting artwork on the asphalt before we put concrete on the asphalt. The artwork can help people to wind up seeing which way to go. How is this going to work in the future? It lets us know if it's a good idea, and it lets us know if it's a bad idea. Me personally, I don't want to find out that it's a bad idea after I've spent $300,000 putting in curb and gutter. I would much rather put in $15,000 worth of paint and see if it works. And this is what we're doing through our lighter, quicker, cheaper implementation. So we're going to come back a little bit later with questions and comments. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. We appreciate you, we love you, and we care about you, and this is one way of us showing you. So next to the stage is another one of our city engineers, traffic engineers, Mr. Andy Borno. Be nice to him. He's a nice guy.
I'm actually here because I heard there was free food, but turns out you have to RSVP if you want to get free food, so it stuck me on water. I'm Andy Borno. I'm leading the transportation engineering program. Oh, thank you. This is important. And so the job here tonight is talk until I'm hoarse with you guys about the importance of safety so that you guys are just as much a safe streets evangelist as we are in the transportation engineering division. All right, let me get this in my focal zone, my old eyes. You see anything on that slide yet? I don't. There we go, okay. You've heard these terms before, I think, but Richmond is a complete streets city and a Vision Zero city. Complete streets is about designing for all ages and abilities and all modes. And then Vision Zero is about eliminating serious injuries and deaths on our streets. The map that you saw from Bobby, that's Vision Zero. We want to get rid of all those dots and get rid of those red lines. The way that translates to success, I mean, we've got metrics, right? We want to make sure that we're not just talking about things, but we're doing things. This is how we set our priorities. They're developed based on data, not vibes, which is a constant point of contention. But walking, rolling, bike riding, bus riding, we want the good stuff to increase. We want the bad stuff to decrease. It boils down to that. So year after year, these are the types of things that we're looking at. We have policy that supports these goals. We have resources to implement these goals. These are a couple of the design actually, no, I'm skipping ahead. But we have design guides to actually specifically say, how do I make the street better? How does this intersection function well? There is a menace that keeps interfering with all of this. Speed. It is the fundamental factor in crash severity. It's a citywide problem. It's a nationwide problem, but here, like, we can't solve the nation's streets. we can do a lot to solve City of Richmond streets. We cannot slow down fast enough. Richmond is not, I was talking with somebody earlier tonight about this, Richmond is not just some rest stop along a high-speed corridor. We're a city. You're here. Relax. You need to get around. Access is important. Speed is not so important, not that you're here. So we've got people moving around between homes and businesses and schools and places of worship, places to eat, places to relax. Citywide, bad driving behavior is putting us all at risk. So I'm going to tell you why physics is the key to safe and healthy streets, which is ironic because physics almost kept me from buying a civil engineering degree many years ago. I thought regular math was hard. I know we have young people in the room. Physics math to me was super hard, nearly broke me. But now I have to deal with it every day, every week. Physics, it's the study of matter and energy and the effect that they have on each other. So the way that I'll illustrate this to you is to tell you about my experience with unbelted sledding. So when I was 11 or 12, in Northern Virginia, we had a big snow. And because Nova can't handle snow, nobody was out driving in the neighborhood. So free of cars, except everybody's stuck in their carports or wherever they were parked, my sister and I were out sledding with another brother-sister duo. So my parents didn't know this at the time, but we liked to chain together sleds to make it like a train. Little people in the front, taller people in the back. So we're doing this like a train going down the steepest street in the neighborhood on fresh snow. And I don't want to point fingers at the little guy in the front, but he steered us into a ditch on the side of the street. So we're going down at 15 miles an hour until, bam, we hit something solid in the ditch, and we're a pile of kids on top of each other. So I get off of this pile, and Allison, our friend, is screaming and holding her arm that physics, kinetic energy, not me, broke. That's just kinetic energy at like 15 miles an hour. That equation, velocity or speed, it's squared, which means it's skyrocketing. The severity of a crash is skyrocketing as the speed increases. So your probability of death keeps going up dramatically as you move faster and faster. So from 30 miles, this very simple looking chart, from 30 to 40 miles an hour, your chance of death doubles. From 40 to 50, your chance of death doubles again. From 40 to 50, doubles again. And here's the alarming part of this chart. I don't know if you guys remember this from these kinds of, as I call them, the super math classes. Two people hitting each other at 30 miles an hour is the same kind of impact as me standing still and 60 miles an hour hitting me. So that high end of the graph should be a very scary thing. Probability of death also increases with age. My parents are getting older. I remember a point where walking my dad across South Capitol Street in Washington, D.C., thinking, I don't know if we're going to make it to the side of the street. I know his body is not as strong as it used to be. It's another clear reminder that speed management on our city streets is so important if we're going to do what we say, which is design streets for all ages and all abilities. So I learned a new phrase today, the crash team call out. Crash team call out, there they are. This is when there's a potential for a fatality. So just take a second and look at these numbers. I got on here the last 3 full years, 23, 22, and 2021. So these numbers represent human lives lost, the fatalities. So 2023, 25 fatalities, 8 of those were pedestrians. And then 2024, year to date, the amount of times that the police crash team was called out because there was a potential for a death, and then 4 actual fatalities. Each of these are people who either they had a life-altering injury or their life was ended. And then, of course, the family members and friends in the groups of the people surrounding them. 3 things I want you to know about this high injury network map. Thing 1, over 75% of Richmond's serious injuries and fatalities are on just 9% of our streets. So if you were looking at this map on the interactive TV out there, I don't know if you got to pinch and zoom and all, but it's only 9% of our streets that have the vast majority of the awful stuff happening. When you look at it in those terms, it's conquerable, that problem. Second thing, Richmond's Vision Zero street network. Already Vision Zero, well over 500 miles. So it's possible, likely even, that some of you live in a Vision Zero neighborhood, and that's worth celebrating. We shouldn't be doomers about this. We should be able to look at the streets that have gotten better over the years, that have eliminated severe injuries and fatalities, and say, yeah, let's do more of that. How can we make more Vision Zero streets? And then the third thing I want you to know about this is it's online. It's available for anyone and everyone to check out. If you just search Richmond, Virginia, Vision Zero, you will find this dashboard. It's got way more information than just a simple map. We want to find the fastest routes to speed management. It's the only context tonight where acceleration and high speed is a good thing. These are the three ways we're doing it. Engineering. Transportation Engineering Division spent about $25 million on safety projects alone over the last 7 fiscal years. It's just safety stuff. And then we've got another $32.5 million lined up for the next 5 fiscal years. I wrote a bunch of these things down so I wouldn't leave some off, but I still will. Road safety assessments, street reconfigurations, bike lanes, roundabouts, curb extensions, left turn hardening, which is a way of calming you if you're driving when you turn left. Accessibility audits, it's something that some of us were talking about at the tables earlier tonight. Pedestrian signals, crosswalks, and of course, speed tables. You may have guessed this if I were to ask you one-on-one, but speeding in school zones, it's nuts. Even in front of elementary schools, while the kids are coming and going from schools. So quick show of hands, how many of you all are aware that Richmond has a safety camera program that started recently? Okay, yeah, that's what I figured, vast majority of you. Good job, City Hall, raising your hands on that question. That was actually a subtle test. So the U.S. Department of Transportation says that safety cameras reduce crashes by over 50%. Big deal. So the RPD group, Richmond Police Department, activated 2 of these cameras, only 2 so far, at 2 elementary schools. I'm purposefully telling you how restrictive this is. In the first 2 months, at just 2 schools, in just the morning and just the afternoon, when little kids are at school. Starting March 18th, less than 2 months, over 3,000 citations, right? Over 3,000 citations. So that's people going more than 11 miles an hour over the speed limit just in the morning and afternoon when little kids are around. That's a big deal. So these cameras are instantly capturing that. The police department reviews to make sure that it's legit, and then the citations go out. Then the third way, education. I feel like education is one of those things that often gets swept by, or it's left as an afterthought. But this is important. I mean, it's important to talk about things like crash energy. Mike Story, our city transportation engineer, is constantly talking about crash energy, just changing the phrase kinetic to crash. It's public safety messaging, it's driver education programs, it's community outreach efforts, it's talking to your neighbor who you know is a speed demon, saying, relax. What you're doing is going to kill someone or yourself. Relax, calm down. You're part of this right now. The speed symposiums, these are opportunities for us to talk about ways to improve the city streets, especially the high injury network, that 9% of streets. So I'll leave you with this, that Vision Zero, so much of this things about traffic safety sound aspirational. It is achievable. We have over 500 miles already of Vision Zero streets. It's achievable, but it's not gonna happen by accident. We've got to constantly check our priorities. I recently had a family member that was in the ICU. I don't usually have a reason to be hanging around hospitals, but there I was. And not every patient is treated the same at the hospital. And I gotta tell you, I am glad that not every patient is treated the same at the hospital. Some need a cup of ice chips. Some need a blood transfusion, even on the same floor at any given time. That's how the Transportation Engineering Division is prioritizing our work. It's life and death. Vision Zero and the high injury network has got to be our priority. If a hospital staff spends all its time on the cups of ice chips instead of the blood transfusions, those would be preventable deaths. So our drive, our mission is preventing those crashes from ever happening by, with all our energy that we can, channeling it into that high injury network. So we use these words deliberately. Our goal is nothing short of culture change. So we need all the help we can get. That's why we're happy that you guys are here tonight, and we hope you ask us anything about it.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to make a brief kind of introduction today. I am Diana Moore Belton. Oh Lord, my husband gonna kill me. Diana Moore Clark, and this had to be recorded. We're not going to show him this. All right, let me see if I can figure out how to go forward. Okay, awesome. So what we wanted to do is first thank all of you for working with us through all of those outreach meetings. Richmond Connects was adopted by City Council in March of this year, and we are super excited. But we definitely wanted to tell everybody thank you. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, why is Richmond Connect so important? It provides current public priorities. This is what we want done today. Of course, we use a data-driven process as well as an equity-based process. And that data and the equity factors really was a key data point and input for what projects were outputted for that process. So one of the things that we did want to do, as we always say, we want to tie our plans to the bigger plans. Richmonders put in their input in Richmond 300, and we took that guiding vision from Richmond 300 and moved it into the Richmond Connects process. So we are very much in line in making and meeting our equitable transportation network goals that we've set for ourselves. One of the things that we did with the Richmond Connects multimodal strategic plan was to go one step further and to do an action plan. The action plan guides the direction of transportation investments based on the equity needs and the priorities of Richmond, and it really helped us to see what our big moves were to implement in the next 2 years. So what you've already seen is the Act Quick. That is our creation of our responsive, lighter, quicker, cheaper projects. I just want to, in public, thank Lucy and Anna and all of our OETM staff, but those are particularly our VCU interns. We also have Alex here, I think. And they worked very hard on helping to put together the Lighter Quicker program so that right after the council's approval, we could actually do projects this fiscal year. And Bobby talked about the Cutshaw project. That was the first one that has started its temporary shutting down of the street to actually make it a park. We have some additional curb projects that Kelly will tell you a little bit about that really do what Bobby said in regard to, let's measure and see how does it really improve safety before we put in those permanent costly infrastructure. So we're really excited. I don't know how we got that. All right, let me see really quick. Was I just hitting the button? Oh, I know what's happening, Kelly. No, I did not. So these are some couple of repetitive slides, and this was the slide that this is the slide that I just talked about. And so in regard to like our response to, or rather the big moves that came out of Richmond Connects, another one of those was close the gaps. So really addressing accessibility and affordability through the recommendations out of the by doing equity-centered programming. And lastly, sidewalks was the most things we heard in Richmond Connects. And so we really wanted to take this information and employ it. We have begun to apply for grants for the recommendations in Richmond Connects so that we actually can continue the work that we're doing to move the needle. Some of the project highlights from Richmond Connects. Fall Line Trail, we're super excited. Richmond, are we super excited for the Fall Line Trail? Yes. What about this one? A Pulse BRT expansion north-south and east-west. We're going to expand that BRT and further into Henrico as well. The downtown transit hub. We're really excited about that. Thank you. Reconnect Jackson Ward project, Richmond Highway Great Streets transformation. We're partnering with GRTC to improve the shelter, seating, and trash cans at bus stops. We've created a comprehensive plan to program and put sidewalks on all city streets and repair all broken sidewalks, prioritizing resources in equity areas, including disability hotspots. We think that's very important. We have emphasis in the bike network, improvements for the bike network. Richmond Connects updated our bike master plan. And so that was an awesome, huge project. Lighting. So who would have known just maybe under 2 years that Richmond DPW would be doing street lighting? So that's one of the things that Bobby talked about having all of these things together allows for so much coordination and efforts to get done out of the Department of Public Works. And Fairfield, downtown, and Churchill were some of the areas in which totally there were lighting issues and safety issues. And then we really wanted to look at the major, reiterate what TED is doing and the high injury street network, as well as areas near schools. And so that was very important to us. When we went into the community, they said, I just can't cross the street safely to go to school. And so we really have put our focus on that, and that'll be some of the things coming out of Lighter Quicker that we will also talk about. And then I'm coming to an end. I think I have to skip a few more slides. Just a few of the pictures. But this is the last one that I wanted to close on before Kelly comes up and talk about our program, is really, we feel like we were successful in Richmond Connects, and we hope to move forward with the action plan, as well as our office will be coming out for a scenario plan that's more just for the leaders and the directors doing transportation projects to see how we can align those things with preventing gentrification, align those things to putting transit development where affordable housing is. And so it's really exciting to look at the scenario. So hopefully at our next symposium, we'll be presenting on that completed document so that you can see that. But again, lastly, there were over 20,000 comments to the Richmond Connect process. 20,000 people commented. That is a huge number. I know so many projects that move forward with 100 or less people. So we really appreciate the community and telling us and coming to us and telling us how and what their input was. So again, those are just some of the numbers of that outreach, and we have to thank Kelly and Shanice Brown for leading that effort. Shanice did an exceptional job, and we're very proud of her for that. So right now, Miss Kelly Rowan will come up. Can I call you Kelly Nash just to mess up her last name too, so both of them. But anyway, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Dirana. And I will say the snafu with the slides, did you see how many more slides she was gonna give that I have made? And she said, cut, 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 cut. So she was trying to save y'all lots of time and they got left in. All right, let's see. How do I work this thing? That's going back. Green arrow means go. Awesome. So Dirana had cut these, and these were just some other fun pictures about folks prioritizing the recommendations. But what Dirana really wanted me to talk about, which is the exciting new stuff, was our Lighter, Quicker, Cheaper program that you heard our wonderful director Vincent kind of allude to. This is a program that we have been talking about throughout the Richmond Connects process, actually. We just heard over and over people saying, you know, what can we do now? We have a problem now. We can't wait to, you know, go through the full design, engineering, pouring concrete, getting funding process. What can we do now? So this was really our response to hearing that in our outreach. And in fact, it actually became one of our how we do business strategies that was in the adopted plan. So what is a lighter, quicker, cheaper project, right? A lighter, quicker, cheaper project could include a lot of different types of things. There's some examples on screen. We have some temporary roundabouts. Let's test out a roundabout with some temporary materials before, like Director Vincent said, we fully invest in it. Let's see if there's unintended side effects or consequences of a treatment. Let's get the community involved. That's another purpose of these projects. Another type of projects that we are looking at doing in this program are some bus stop improvements. That was, if not number one, it was in the top 3 things that I would say we heard when we were out talking to Richmonders, and I wish Shanice was here too, because she could confirm that, but people just want somewhere decent out of the rain to wait for their bus. So we're looking at, is there a way we can really quickly build something and put it out at bus stops ASAP without having to pour that concrete. We also are looking at, and we'll be doing a round of this type of project pretty soon. Those are some of those public art and safety improvements and that kind of embedded safety culture that comes along with those type of projects. We actually just kicked off our very first lighter, quicker, cheaper project, which was the closing down of a stretch of Cutshaw, that kind of weird little piece that comes off Broad Street that doesn't provide a whole lot of connectivity, but does present a lot of weird conflict with pedestrians, and also a lot of weird after hours activity that we might not feel safe walking around. So we, partnering with the Greater Scots Addition Association, got some solar powered string lights to put out there, shut down the street. A wonderful guys talking about working as a team. Wonderful DPW team came out and set up the barriers. When we worked with our community partners to build some tables, tool bank, you know, hands down, really crushed it on that part of the project. And it's out there right now. You can go hang out there. It'll be there till next Wednesday. And that was a prime project that we selected to do first because it was community led. That's how we want this program to eventually be inspired really by community-led projects. We don't want it to be us coming and saying, you need this. We want people to come to us and say, we need this. We've got this church or this business or this community organization that wants to kind of sponsor this and be in charge of getting volunteers. And that's really one of the big goals in this Lighter, Quicker, Cheaper program is to build that relationship with community organizations so that we can get their buy-in and start to shift that culture around safety and speeding in our city. So what's next? We did that one pop-up park. We don't have any more of those on the books. What we are working on right now as a DPW team, the engineering guys have given us their review. We're working on some other internal reviews, but we have a handful of intersections that we plan to do some quick curb, the quick curb that actually has a flex post embedded in it, to do some curb bump outs at several locations, and the space that creates will be a paintable space. So we are planning to work with community partners to design that paintable space with, community-led art. We are hiring also a part-time artist and residents to help coordinate those community partners and translate their vision into implementable art. If you know someone, this is their thing, send them my way. You can have them email connects@rva.gov. Because if you checked out our table, you saw the little coloring sheet and I did the example. So you do not want me to be in charge of the coloring. I'm a planner, not an artist. But that is what is next. Stay tuned. As many of the presenters talked about, and I think, this is maybe reiterative, but why are we doing these projects? Why don't we just go out and, put an actual curb extension? Well, that's way more expensive. That takes a lot more time to engineer and to get the funding. This allows us a way to not only do something that we can fix an issue potentially right away, but it also allows us to test ideas for the community to react to rather than a static engineering drawing. You've been to meetings, probably some that I have hosted, and things are on a board, and it's hard to understand what it's actually saying. But if you go out and put it out in the street and you interact with it in 3D space, it's a lot easier to understand how it functions, and then we can say, how did you like that? And then we can go back to Mike and the engineering guys, and they can tweak a design a little bit before it gets implemented, right? Because people have given us the feedback. So that's another purpose. And as I mentioned, another purpose is really building that community trust and that community buy-in in the process and feeling like, this is their project. How we do it matters. We're making sure that all of our projects are going to be accompanied with signage in the project space so that people walking by have an idea of why we're doing the project and how they can give us feedback. How we do it matters. We are relying on our community partners to be the inspiration for all of the art in these projects. Again, we really hope that helps build the community trust and that that community ownership of those projects, to where when they're talking to their neighbor about, hey, did you see that thing they did down on Mechanicsville Turnpike? You can say, yeah, I actually helped paint it, and it's designed to slow people down so that people don't get hit. Oh, okay. Kind of build that community and that culture around it. So, if you would like to stay involved, you should be able to, on your phone, scan that QR code where you can sign up for our mailing lists, which you can also do at rvaconnects.com. If you want to particularly be involved in the lighter, quicker, cheaper projects, like maybe you want to come out and help paint one, come by our table if you haven't already, and I've got a little worksheet that you can also color on, but give me your name and your email and we'll add you to our kind of database of people that want to help with those projects. You can also go to rva.gov/public/transit equity/LQC. It's up on the screen. That website is where you can find updates for our lighter, quicker, cheaper program. And I think, oh, it's not my last slide. I thought that was my last slide. So one other little thing. You might be thinking, I did that Richmond Connect survey. There was a question on there about electric vehicles and electrified mobility. Whatever happened with that? We have been working on an electric mobility action plan. We took that feedback and have generated some of the priorities that Richmonders said, and that is, again, under review by our wonderful team and a larger team of people, actually the whole city, and we should be coming out to the public with a draft of that plan very soon, so stay tuned for that as well. And we are always here. Me, Diana, Shanice was not able to be here tonight because she has to be somewhere very early tomorrow morning for our pop-up, actually. But we're here. Shoot us an email. We're very responsive. So I think that's the end of my piece. I think Mr. Vincent is going to come back. I think maybe Diana. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, we will go to Mr. Vincent, but I would like Mr. Vincent to start off with giving our grand prize winner a $50 gift card from the Passport.
All right, let me see. You better look all nice and full now. Let's see who will win. Margaret Full.
The next set are a little bit less because you weren't the main winner, but we have 3 more gift cards for $25 to give out. Mr. Philip Jordan. Thanks for coming to the Speed Symposium. We appreciate you. Mr. Day? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, it's Trish Bernal. She said, congratulations. All right, Bobby, we have one more, don't we?
You got one more?
Yeah. You can call that one and then go into question and
All right, I want to say Josh Barclay. Is that right? Josh Berkeley or Barclay? No? Lucy Boland. I really do want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is one of my favorite parts of the program here is the question and answers. And so what we're going to do is, if you have a question, I'm going to give you a number. Those of you who have been at meetings that I've been at before, I don't like trying to remember everybody, so I'm going to give you a number. And it's up to you to remember your number. So when I call out number 1, 2, 3, or 4, at that point in time, just come up. We want you to stand here because we are, I think, on Facebook Live or whatever, new social media stuff. You know, we're trying to get out as much information to as many people as possible. So, at this point in time, if you have any questions, by all means, please raise your hand. And if you don't feel comfortable with coming up, I don't want you to not come up. So, number 1, number 2, number 3, and we'll come back to get number 4 in a second.
Wow, I didn't realize it was going to go like this. I have sort of a comment and a question.
Yes.
I'll start with my comment first. First of all, I'm V. Wright. I'm new to Richmond. I've been here 14 months and 2 weeks.
Yay,
Today is
welcome.
my 14-month, 2-week anniversary. I love Richmond. I live in Shockoe Bottom. I spend a lot of time in Churchill because it's adjacent, and I walk, and I'm very much concerned about safety, which is why I'm here. And my comment, and this is actually a suggestion for the traffic circles. I'm very familiar with traffic circles, but I don't think a lot of drivers are in Richmond. And one thing I suggest to DPW, once you make them all consistently the same with the signage, that I've observed the traffic. Like, I'm looking at the traffic circles on 22nd, on 23rd, on 24th, 25th. So I'm watching the traffic. Most drivers, and this is anecdotal, of course, most drivers do not understand how to drive in the traffic circle. So what I suggest that the DPW might do is use verbal signage, like for instance, a sign that says, yield to traffic in circle. In addition to having the arrows that tell drivers where to go. I have seen, in my short time here, many near accidents just at those 4 traffic circles I've named because people either don't know how to navigate them or they are not paying attention. But what I've noticed, first of all, the 4 that I've mentioned all have different signage. That's why I say consistency is key. But I believe you really need verbal directions.
Understood.
Okay, now to my second question. This is a safety thing. Oh, first of all, congratulations to DPW for putting that flashing yellow sign at the intersection of 21st and Dock for people who are accessing the low line. You push the button and it, the light flashes and, magically traffic stops. I love it. So brilliant, well done. So my request is how soon can we have the very same traffic sign at the west end, at the east end of Great Shiplock Park, where you have Pear and Dock? Because see, once you walk east on the low line and you find yourself into Great Shiplock Park and you want to cross the street to get out of the park, you're at the mercy of whatever driver decides to let you pass. So I hope that can happen soon. Very, very soon, because I use that area a lot, and so do other people. And we really need some sort of another one of those flashing yellow signs. It works. So please get us another one soon, very soon, Superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comments, and we will look into that very soon.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ben from Carytown Merchants Association, and we want to make a suggestion that the city of Richmond get with NASCAR and offer sponsorships for that strip of Cary Street. Either that or put some speed bumps up there. So, as an association, something's got to be done because we're taking our life in hands every day walking in Cary Street. Second thing about bump outs are great, but the city needs to be thinking about the maintenance of the bump outs. We have bump outs around us and they are great trash collectors, and they become a pretty big public nuisance if there's not maintenance on those bump outs after they're installed. Thank you.
Very good point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Brantley Tyndall. I work with Sports Backers on our Bike Walk RVA program, so I'm a little bit of an insider. I appreciate everyone being here today. I just want to say that Richmond Connects is a breath of fresh air, and I really appreciate everyone in DPW who worked on it. I think it's a turning point in the way that we look at transportation in the city, and it's just beautiful to see. I know some of the conversations around tactical urbanism started in the pandemic, and it wasn't really the right time, I think, but now it's a beautiful thing to see. And so we want to get involved, and thank you for that. My question is about the high injury network. Approximately 9% of the roads in our city are where the majority of fatalities happen. They're arterials: Belvedere, Hull Street, Midlothian, Chamberlain. what are some of the specific things we're doing to curb fatalities there?
Good point. So first of all, do we have a number 4? Number 4, come on up, because I believe we're getting all of the questions and then we're going to try to answer as many of them collectively as possible. You look dapper. Want to come work with Works? No, I'm just going.
Hey there, folks. My name is Brendan. I'm a pediatric emergency room nurse.
Yes.
And as in our quick physics lecture, we discussed mass times acceleration equals force, right? And today we're focusing primarily on the acceleration part, which is very important. However, I'd like to bring into question to the mass part. With the increasing size of cars, what have you, like your F-150, we're also seeing increased pedestrian damage, right? Now, the hood of an F-150 stands, I'm a short king, so about here, right? And that increases thoracic trauma right here. Injuries to the lungs, injuries to the heart, injuries to the spleen, things like that. Whereas in traditional cars and older cars, we're seeing more survivable injuries. So what is the city doing to focus on the mass part of our equation as well?
Very good point. Thank you. So, in looking at and trying to answer some of these questions, and we will address them in whole, either online, through our website, and or through emailing those individuals that had them. The easy ones first with regards to the chevrons that we tend to utilize in many of our traffic circles throughout the city. Not necessarily our roundabouts, but in our traffic circles. I want to thank you for that because that's something that we can change in terms of putting up signage. One thing that we do want to do is that when we do put up signs within the public right-of-way, that we do our best to adhere to the MUTCD guidelines. It's funny, I don't think I could say MUTCD 10 years ago. And I still have problems saying this sometimes now, but it's the Manual Uniform on Traffic Control Devices. And what they do is they mandate that we put certain types of signs under certain conditions. But we do want to make certain that our citizens, all of our citizens, have an understanding of which way to go, what direction to go, and maybe we might also look at adding to that by having some commercials in terms of showing people how to drive through traffic circles, as well as roundabouts, as well as how to deal with four-way stops. So I do want to thank you for that, and that's something that we're going to implement quickly. In looking at an additional pedestrian crossing there on Dock Street, that's something that we would have to take a deeper look into. That is more of a budgetary issue than it is a design issue. I certainly understand what you're saying. We don't want people to walk and then have to make a U-turn and walk back in order to feel safe. I think that's kind of crazy. So we do want people to be able to walk to a destination and have that destination as a point on their travel to cross naturally. So that is something that we will in fact take a look at, and I don't know if we have your information, but if we don't, we would like to get it. And then at that point in time, we can be in contact with you through email, okay? In terms of looking at Carytown, I drive Carytown probably about 6 times a week. Very familiar with Carytown. I love it on Saturdays. I love it on Sundays. I drive it very frequently in the mornings. And unfortunately, I've been stuck in traffic in Carytown as well in terms of trying to get through there during some of our busiest hours. It is a pedestrian issue within Carytown with regards to providing more ways for our citizens to be able to cross the street safely, making people to stop. People used to hate the little stop signs that we put up, stop for pedestrians only, but that was a nationwide program and project in order to make people more alert and more aware. We knew people were going to hit them and knock them down because people have been hitting those signs and knocking them down all over the country. So we have an abundance of those signs that we will probably be putting back up later on this spring. So what we have been doing is looking for ways to improve the pedestrians, I guess crossability, I don't even know if that's a word, but throughout Carytown from going to one side of the street to the other, guiding people away from jaywalking in Carytown in order to make things safer. So more information will be heading you all's way with regards to that in terms of meeting with the Carytown Merchants Association. With regards to the bump outs, the vegetation of the bump outs are the responsibility of the adjacent property owner. I know that we have some adjacent property owners that don't care. We have them all throughout the city of Richmond. But we will be working with the Carytown Merchants Association to see if we can put a little bit more pressure on those adjacent property owners, because the bump outs are designed not just for the public right-of-way and for pedestrians and or vehicles in terms of narrowing the vision of the driver so that they drive better and slower, and that pedestrians can wind up crossing the street in a safer way. But they're also designed for beautification. So we will certainly make certain that we do our part to make certain that property owners, adjacent property owners do theirs. So thank you for that information. And last but not least, the information that you mentioned with regards to how vehicles currently are causing more injuries based upon the size of the vehicle. I know that, I don't know how. That's something that we're going to have to take a look at. I know that people have tried to increase the tax rate on larger vehicles, but that still doesn't help somebody who's been hit by one. And so I think that's something that we're going to have to look at seriously across the industry. Yes. His question was, what if we made that tax rate go towards a fund that would help people who have been struck by those vehicles? I think going a step further would be not just go into a fund to help people that have been struck, but also to go into preventive measures in terms of studies and things of that nature in order to bring about more awareness. So that's an excellent point, and thank you very much for it. Yeah. So at this point in time, I think we still may have some food that's left in the back. I'm not sure. We do still have food left in the back. We still have some information out here. And for those of you all who had some additional questions, by all means, pick up someone on one of our staff and ask them, and we'll do our best to give you the information. In Public Works, as you can see, we are in fact a family, and you all are a part of that family. So thank you very much for coming out this evening. Thank you for giving us your information, and we look forward to servicing you in the future. Thank you. Good night and be safe.
Like high visibility crosswalks at signalized intersections and accessible ramps for all users. On foot, bike, or behind the wheel, we're working hard to